Okay, what happened there was I got stopped right in mid word, so we're going to make sure you understand. We talked about Bing Crosby, and that we're now talking about magnetic tape. We started with that, which is 25. Again, things get developed, they overlap each other. So through a period of records or whatever. Before that, at 1900, you have other things being developed, and they'll show up again later. So the magnetic recording was first introduced at the turn of the century by the Danish inventor Valdemar Poulsen. And in 1900, Poulsen patented the telegraphone, a device to record sound on a steel wire or tape. He later designed a model to answer the telephone automatically and record a message. Wonder where Edison got that idea, or maybe Edison thought of it first. We really don't know. The question is, who got to the patent office first? And I'll bet you it might have been Edison. At any rate, continuing with magnetic tape, in 1932, a company which is still around today, BASF, of IG Farben, joined with AEG of Telefunken to develop magnetic tape, a magnetic tape recording using Flumer patent. So they used another person's patent, and by 1934, BASF is able to manufacture reels of plastic-based tape. You don't remember what we dealt with tape. Um, if you weren't careful, you ended up with a lot of tape on the floor instead of in the recording machine. We had those 8-track tapes. That's what happened to them almost all the time. That went in and out of style very quickly. It was a failed product. And here we have a picture of Fitz Flumer around 1928. And in 1940, another name appears, a familiar name. David Sarnoff of RCA installed the first secret recording devices in the White House. 1940. Amazing. That is moving right on up towards the beginning of World War II. And wouldn't those recordings be interesting to listen to today? Moving on to slide 27, we're talking about reel to reel. We have another picture here of Bing Crosby, one of the first backers of Ampex. I don't know if the Ampex company is still around, but it sure was big then. He had an early home tape recorder, and why not? He was extremely wealthy. But you see on the left there, it's kind of a blurry picture, but that's what reel to reel looked like. Um, I, you know, I used it. Everybody used it. Eventually, those reel-to-reel tape recorders were very small. Like I said, things get small and they get affordable. Um, so that was that. We go on to um, slide 28, where we get into, now we're talking to effects devices. So tape recorders led to effects. It wasn't enough just to listen to plain old music as it came out of the instruments. We have to change the sound. And this happened quite a bit. Well, let's just say it was quite a bit involved in the guitar recording industry. A lot of these effects devices were built for guitars. But here we have something like flanging, something like it was a whooshing, swirling sound. It was developed by John Lennon by alternately pressing the tape flangers on two machines. I mean, they just fiddled with the machine. And they went, whoa, that was kind of a neat sound. Let's use that in our next record. You have something called chorus, which was a slight detuning of the signal to create a full shimmering sound. If you had 6 people singing, it might sound like 12 people singing or 24 people singing, depending on how you messed with the effect. Then reverb, which some of you may have heard of. We heard that a lot on guitars. It simulates reverberation of various sizes of rooms. In other words, what is the reverb effect of the room you're in right now versus the reverb effect of being in our classroom? Quite a different sound. Then we have something called the delay, which repeats the original sound at regular intervals, gradually fading away, almost like an echo effect, but the echo is quite singular. It repeats the original sound at irregular intervals. I'm not going to try to do an echo effect, but sometimes comedians are very good at doing that. Moving right along to slide 29, we're talking about the Battle of the Speeds. This is something I'd like you to remember because we started out with records that were, well, let's just say in 1948, Columbia Records introduced the 33 and a third, which we called an LP, or for long playing. We all called them LPs. You have an LP, you have an LP, you know. RCA debuts then the 45, which is what all rock and roll songs were recorded on. I still have them in my garage. I probably have about 40 of them that I could still play because I bought a replica of one of those record players from the 1950s, 60s. It's cool. I can't wait to play it. Can't wait to put my record player and my 45s in the same room, well, in the same house, and then play them. I look forward to that. So it was called the Battle of the Speeds. This is really important. This is like, it's like PC versus Mac. This was, what is going to win out? They were trying to get format dominance. So soon the 33 and a third becomes the preferred format for albums. You could put an entire album on a 33 and a third. 33 and a third stood for the rotations per minute. The 33 and a third was much larger and it ran much slower. And of course, when you had a record player, you had a little switch. And if you were going to put a 33 on, you'd move it up to the 33. That changed the speed that by which the record would turn. And then, so the 45 was the choice for single hits. I will tell you that you could probably count on it on your watch that most 45s back in the day, back in the 50s when we heard our big hits, 50s, 60s, and 70s, a hit single was about 2.5 to 3 minutes. Some were particularly short, and of course we knew all those. We knew which ones were short, which ones were long. We'd get very excited if we heard that a single came out by Journey or some other group, or the group Chicago, and it was 3.5 minutes long. Wow, that was really long. Okay, I'm going to stop this right here. We're on 29. At any rate, and then the new one, the older, which was actually the very first one to come out, which was the 78, that disappeared. I do own some of those too. And in the 1950s, stereo players debut, which quickly doubles the number of records being sold. Stereo meaning you've got sound coming from two different sides, different sounds. You've got bass, and then you have the higher pitches. And you also have sound coming from the left and sound coming from the right. And if you turned the left speaker off, all you could hear was music coming from the right, and vice versa. And we'll end this one right here.